Well, I'm back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745, and I'm continuing my look at the very good World Ablaze mod, and we're seeing how it's working. And thanks for following. Do appreciate that. We can modify our government somewhat. Or, we want to check out our officer corps here. Land doctrine, not enough experience there. Yet. But we should see about maybe sending some, yeah, we should see about sending a, okay, expeditionary force. That would be a good idea. Attack maneuver. It's not completed a demand. Don't know why Beck goes away with demand. Sudetenland? Probably some reasons behind it, I don't know. Okay, we'll do this for the fun of it. Right, we need to do it eventually. Well, how big a force can we... Can't send volunteers? Huh? What? What? Anybody know why this is? Yeah, that's an interesting idea of... Hello, Toy Jet again. You were here earlier, I guess you left. I definitely have in other... I don't know if in Hoi 4, but in Hoi 3, I definitely, if the Republicans win, have invaded at times. So, well, I guess we could do some Lend-Lease, but... I don't have enough artillery that I want to Lend-Lease so many artillery. Yeah, we'll send them some guns. Oh, that's it. Okay, that makes perfect sense, Harmony. Makes perfect sense that we haven't got this done yet. Okay, we're just starting this. Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, that works. That makes sense. Like I say, this is the first time I played. I played World Ablaze probably more than a year ago. Come to think about it, and things change. I know Uncharted has been developing a lot of stuff, and I gather he now has a much larger team than originally. Basically, it was him, I understand. So yeah, we'll get to this. That'll be happening soon. Another 6 days. And volunteers, okay. You have 0 divisions, volunteer force. Okay, so we can have 1. I was hoping for 2 or 3, but I know our army isn't terribly big. Well, unassign. Yes, let's. Who do we have here? We said I'm just going to give it to, like, I guess we'll just give it to You're off to Spain. Go down. And send air volunteers. And then we send them air. What? Well, not letting me send air, but rebasing down here. Huh? I don't know. Okay, well. Well, maybe. Oh, gotta wait till now. I'm being impatient. Yes, I'm being impatient. Not too big of a bomber group. What sort of bomber group do we have here? There we go. Let's send these guys down. Yeah. I'm just being impatient. Yeah. Railways are definitely something that needs to be looked at. I haven't really looked at this map much to see if you've changed, quite honestly. I don't recognize enough that there's changes from the standard. Germany should be I don't know how much it would help, but Germany in some areas should be denser railway networks, I believe. Out here it's probably getting, well, let me click here. Here it's probably pretty good. There might be a bit more of a ring around Moscow. I have railway maps. When I was in the beta program, they weren't interested in my railway maps. Now they are, but I'm no longer in the railway or in the beta program, so I can't help them. More factories, Reich commissars. Don't really care about that yet. Would like to get down to there. Stop. Production efficiency. Speed. I like a lot of that. Yeah, let's do this early on. Let's go for this. Changes our next update. Yeah. Down here now. So let's put you up here. Go after anything flying. And you do ground support in that area. Okay, we've arrived. We're here. Hello. Drive to there. And more subs. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll look at even more subs. Okay, we are pretty good on everything but tungsten, so that seems alright. And we have more dockyards to do for more submarine. There. No, I'm talking the Hearts of Iron 4 beta. I was in the beta for Hearts of Iron 4 for quite a while. In minor ways, I helped with OI4. Basic infrastructure, okay. In minor ways. I'm still technically under an NDA over what happened in the beta, so I'm not going to go into it. Nothing major, but minor little things. Let's push on this. Yes, hello. Let the king. What I'm trying to do is cut these guys off by hitting here, cutting them off from their port supply over here. So yeah, no, it was before. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was publicly before. I was arguing for railways. A podcast was going, no, we got infrastructure. That's railways. So when I was involved, they didn't want railways. After I left, because I mean I was sort of kicked out just because I was not participating anymore. Not any salty feelings about it, because literally I wasn't participating. I'd lost interest in participating, not just because of railways or something. But I hadn't been participating probably more than a year. I hadn't posted anything in the beta. So in one of their house cleaning sweeps, I was one of the people removed for non-participation at that point. Only salty that the day after I left, and that at some point, I don't know what point, but at some point after I left is when they started considering railways. That's the part I'm salty about, not that I, because again, like I say, I wasn't participating. So yeah, I would have wanted to contribute. All right, yeah, well, I can get my friend IKB onto that one. He works for British Railway Company and could do that. Yeah, much more dense. Now up here, well, I think there's a railway link along the Great Glen. There's definitely one coming up around here. But out here in Scotland, it gets very, very few. But there should be one up through Loch Lomond and over to here, I believe. Yeah, and definitely stuff going across the Pennines. Most assuredly that, and definitely coming out to the to the coal mines in Wales and the slate mines. Yeah, there's a lot more, and yeah. Oh yeah. But right now, I just don't know either the vanilla map well enough for to notice changes. Just don't notice any of the changes. So okay, so we just got our, which also decreased our fatigue. So we're getting that down. I don't know that we're going to do this just yet. I wanted to progress down that path. Expand mining. Which increases economic fatigue. Moving along. Okay. So, more coal, more steel, more tungsten. That would solve our tungsten problems currently. So I think we will do that now. We'll do that now. 21 days to get that going. And we will get it. Been warned. 200. Been warned that you should expect get about 200 military factories by the start of the war as a general sort of goal. So we will continue to focus on some of that. Okay, we can add another one, so we'll put it to our friends, the Panzer 2A. We haven't invaded anybody yet. We're sort of going historical. let the king. We're just helping out with the Spanish Civil War here with the Panzer Division. Alright, well, let's look at the order of battle of the Panzer Division. One. I haven't looked at no. Template. Okay, isn't too bad. That's pretty neat. And probably very historical from my early Panzer divisions. It's looking very historical. But it isn't too bad as an effective unit to get in here and attack. And yes, we're playing as Germany. Just we're down here with it should be von Thoma's command, but there's no von Thoma yet in the mod, the game, whatever. Got us in, and we're here, almost in charge. We are attacking the mountains, true. Okay, expanding domestic mining, and currently we are at 36%, so we're doing fair, I would say. I'm trying to not just, my instinct is always to go do economic stuff. So I'm trying to keep that from being too big of a focus. We're definitely not doing fantasy crap of opposing Hitler. 35 days. Do you want to get down to dockyards, which yeah, we'll increase that, yeah. But we'll start down this path a little bit, get that going. New evil population. I don't know why we are doing that big of a, I don't know, 10% seems big hit to the population. I understand workers doing, you know, building ships is different, you know, you take them away for doing other work, or being in the army or something. I get that point, but it seems awfully big. Warping into a focus. Okay, yeah, Darth, that's fine. We're 1936, November. We're very early in this whole thing. No, we're just 36. Here, Arno. Yeah. Okay, we got these guys cut off. What's that with this? They've got Bilboa. We'll help them crush this little pocket here. Definitely, you know, before this time period, women are very much like in Soviet factories. In America, at this time period, women are not. Well, so obviously we're talking in generalities, not don't pull out my grandmother whatever or great grandmother whatever, but at this time period, 1936, women are not in the American industrial complex. Why? Because there's not enough jobs. There's a massive depression going on, worse than in Europe, I would say, generally speaking. Definitely much worse than Nazi Germany at this time. And there's just not enough jobs. Sure, you know, there's been the Dust Bowl when a bunch of this part of the United States, sort of here, that's our farming sector here, because of some weather atmospheric elements plus turning Great Plains, open areas covered in grass, into tilled farmland, you know, with European style plows, and a bit of a drought and some stuff that's outside, you know, just bad weather conditions, shall we say. And farming techniques creates a dust bowl that is just god off. I mean, just fine particulate dust. Nowadays, they know better to grow trees along the edges of the farms and other things that handle it better. We're not heading towards another dust bowl. We can talk about taking water from the aquifer, but that wasn't really the reason at the time. So that kills a lot of farming that had been a super big boom during World War One. And once World War One's over and the earlier pandemic that happens with influenza, COVID is going to become eventually just like influenza. Yeah, the weak on the margins may die from it, but most of us will be, had the flu, sick for a few days kind of BS. That's what it's going to, I think, eventually become. Could be wrong, but eventually. I'm not saying it is now. I'm just saying eventually, someday. The influenza, which hits Europe, that devastates Europe and America, but that lowers the population level down. The war itself, of course, lowers the population level down. But a lot of Europe, particularly places like Britain and France, had been buying American agricultural products because they were focusing on war and war production and just might as well import it from America. And so there's a crash of agriculture. So a lot of farmers had taken out a lot of loans to improve their farming equipment. And then they didn't have anybody to sell their food to. I mean, because America was only going to eat so much food. And so they couldn't pay back their loans, so that crashes it. Banks are wanting to take over, but banks can't run farms. They're not. There's the banks that take over the farms. They don't want to hire farmers to farm them because nobody to buy the food. So it's just owning the land. And then the Dust Bowl hits. Again, multiple factors come into the Dust Bowl. That hits, and then also along with the Great Depression hits, that kills a lot of farming in this part of America. But farming over here is not, it's a downturn. Again, people are, that had overextended on loans, that had had it just gone for, whether the war gone for another 2 or 3 years, or had there just been a market for food for another 2 or 3 years, everybody would have been more or less fine, unless, of course, they continued to take loans out. But it was mostly just to modernize farming technique, tractors and whatever. So once you buy your tractor and your extra, plows and reapers and whatever else they were putting on the tractor, once you buy all that, then you're fine. You don't keep buying that over and over and over. But they invested in more industrialized farming, and the market collapses with that. And so we get into the Great Depression, and there just is not, the place for women workers, because a lot of factories just shut down, or a lot of factories go on, like maybe 25% of their industrial, output capability. Some just, everything just collapsed. That's why we have at this time period, it comes out is, the big three automakers, because all the small automakers die off, and some are picked up, like Oldsmobile, I forget, was it GM or whoever. One of them buys these some of these other, like Pontiac, which is a GM brand, but was originally a separate company. But the big, GM, Chevrolet, and Ford are the three survivors of the automobile industry. Some stuff they're picking up and buying and integrating into their company. Others are just going completely out of business. But even those that survive, they're like the big three. They're only just, sort of just keeping maintenance level of production coming out, just because there isn't enough people to buy the trucks, to buy the cars that can actually. So yeah, there's a new model coming out of whatever during the 30s. Absolutely. And there's a 34 Ford, a 35 Ford, a 36 Ford, a 37 Ford, and they're changing, but it's not a roaring business. So there's just not enough jobs for it, and because of cultural and other aspects, they're going to hire men first for most of that, real labor. They do hire a lot of women for, clerical type work, sometimes called secretaries, but also typists and whatever. And typists, because when they need 4 copies of something, they may be able to use some, copy paper through it to do it, but they're having to type out each, they need 25 copies of something. Okay, maybe you can type 2 at a time or something with the the transfer paper. But yeah, you need somebody there to type out all these copies because they don't have photocopy machines and whatnot. So unless you're going to enough copies to set it up and actually run a printing press on it, they're hand typing all this out. So there is women doing that kind of office type work and work as salespeople in stores and whatnot. So women are employed, but not industrially, even in minor industry, just because there's not enough jobs for the men. And so there is a cultural thing there, but it isn't women should not be there. It's just more women should be in the home because that's the best place for them, but not that they can't do other things. It's just that's what is best, not what is allowed. So it isn't an allowed kind of thing, but there really isn't a women in the workforce until the war, really, because prior to once the war gets going in Europe, that gets the men employed in America, and either directly or indirectly in different fields. That's what gets the men back employed. It's America entering the war gets women in the workplace in America, but it's just that. Okay, mistype. No problem, Arno. No problem. Its representation of the U.S. can only put women in the workplace after mobile. Okay, cool, good to know. I know you said earlier, Tank X, I believe that you mainly play as the U.S. Yeah, and so like I say, there's a lot I don't know about World War II, but I have looked at it socially and culturally for a lot of the major players. Japan, U.S., Britain, Germany. Not really France, but I don't think it's much different than sort of Britain. Like women there. The Soviets. Now, I don't know too much how much in factories did women work in Poland. I don't know. So some of these areas I don't know, but it's interesting. How are we doing down here? We killed our little pocket. No, we didn't get more. Okay, so we have. Oh, let's hear. Let's up here, the ships. Okay, we're getting 2.7 civilian trains a month now. Currently, we're getting 3 Panzer IIs a month. We're getting 3 Panzer Is a week. Okay, good. What does this show us? Yes, it's artillery is what I was going to guess. But let's come back over here and increase our. Let's increase this by 2. And 1 for now, and then 1 soon. Oh, we can improve our government layout. Well, I'm thinking we're going to soon be developing new. Okay. I like this. I think this may have been on the earlier versions, but guys, it's been a long time since I've been playing World of Blaze. For all I went on a huge rant on Total War back then and had rage quit that. Nothing like that has ever happened with World of Blaze. So this just really will help with the research speed and production cost of certain fighter types, and not. I really think it's sort of screwy that the base game that this somehow affects the effectiveness of the models. I think either reducing production or research time on certain types of models, like what would be Messerschmitt models or Focke-Wulf models or so on, or reducing production on things, I think is the best. So, see, we're gonna do Messerschmitt because we're gonna see about doing this. We're in game as Poland. See, I don't think they work in Japan, and given them. No, they work very much in Japan. Where? No, I guess you weren't here earlier when I was going in details of how much women do work in Japan, in industry, particularly in agriculture, massively in agriculture. See, that was the thing, and people talk about it in some of the propaganda movies in the time period made in America, but how women female children weren't as well valued And that is to some degree quite true in Japan. But a lot of women faced grinding poverty, and in Japan, poverty doesn't mean begging. Grinding poverty means grinding work in poverty. Face that in agricultural work, or often being sold. Most weren't sold, but some sold into the entertainment industry, shall we say. Not necessarily sexual, but sold as children, and not to then be abused as children, but just trained, because a lot of them were trained to be like hostesses and other types of things and not as young children, but as children, get training in these types of fields in Japan. So, and parents often did not have, because the adult women were in grinding poverty, often in a marriage, trying to survive in the system. They were, couldn't support the children. So there's a lot of that stuff. So women worked very much in agriculture in Japan, and somewhat in industry before the war, and very much by the time you get into the war with China, not so much the war with the U.S. later in 41, but I'm talking in the late 30s. Women are working in aircraft factories and things like that, and are if not on the cover. I'd have to look through some of my stuff that I saved. I saved a lot of photos and information. Well, just to let you know, is when I find a photo like with a description online, and I follow various things and look on various stuff, what I do is I save either one copy or multiple copies as needed, and just do the name of the image, the text around the photo, like what magazine it was from and when and what's going on in it or whatever. So or about a photo of a badge or whatever, and why that was. So sometimes I'll have two or three images of the same thing, just to be able to get a long enough text title to cover what I need to do that I may make an event out of someday. And I do a lot of that kind of stuff to save my research that way. And so whether it's on the cover of some Japanese magazine or just covered in magazine articles showing women at the workplace, so they're publicizing this out to the public. This isn't some sort of hidden thing or whatever. It's like, yay, women are helping out building aircraft, or yay, women are working in this, factory building radios or whatever, or toasters or whatever. So there's a lot of this stuff I know is going on. Now, again, it might not be most workers, but it's enough that they're talking about it and promoting it. That it's a thing in publicity, in public, magazines, newspapers, that kind of thing. Yep, companies are now about producing stuff and not randomly making it stronger. Yes, that's good. Choose long-range planes. We'll see about that. Strategic bombers have style. Yes, but they're maybe not as effective as winning wars as Curtis LeMay and Bomber Harris would have liked. German populists are going to enjoy wonderful shade provided by the B-17 planes. Yeah, yes, I'm sure they will. Is Chamberlain going to give you the Sudetenland? Well, probably. In Third Reich events, I have it coded because I have an event chain over the Sudetenland once. One leading up to the whole thing. It starts in 36. So if you want the Sudetenland in Third Reich events, you start in 36 and go down a path. But once you get to the Munich, or actually before the Munich conference, but there you sort of do the push, you have a chance that it's 80% that Chamberlain gives in and gives, agrees that the Sudetenland gets to go Germany, 20% chance no, but then you as the German player can go, do you want to back off the Sudetenland because Britain said no, or do you want to push? And then if you push, you have a 50-50 chance war or peace. So it ends up being approximately a 10% chance actually of starting a war over the Sudetenland with Third Reich events. That's how I have it coded. I don't think I've ever gone through and had it go to war on one of my playthroughs. And I always recommend people, if they don't want to have the war, just save it before you go down this thing, and so you can go back to the save and start over again. Who doesn't love running of fire bombs. Right. Well, yeah. That would be LeMay. Curtis LeMay is, of course, the guy heading the bombing missions in Japan. Harris is doing the bomber missions in. Okay, we're at 105. Wow, we've got a lot to build here. Don't know if I started early enough on or if I should have pushed more for. I'm gonna do one of these. Push more for more civilian factories before switching over. I don't know, because with more civilian factories, obviously, you can build more military factories at a given time. Well, I don't know with this mod. I can't answer the question of whether Germany, because I haven't played it yet. Okay, we're catching up on artillery. We did do somewhere a little bit more heavy, but we'll do some more. Two more of these guys. Always went more artillery than not enough, but we can, let's. I always judge a game like Hearts of Iron is how well it can implement history, or whatnot, or is it broken? Not that it's like always goes down the historical path. Night bombing, I don't think Germany ever really had the technology to stop night bombing, in that they could cause enough damage to the British planes to shoot it down. I just don't think. I'm not going to go into all the Kamhuber or Kamhuber, however you pronounce it, line and all these different night programs that I do know a bit about. But my estimation is they couldn't stop night bombing. They could damage, make it so that a significant percentage of the airplanes that the British send over don't make it home. But I don't think they could stop it. I don't think they could punish it enough that the British were to go, this is too expensive in the loss of lives or the loss of, aircraft cost to replacement. I don't think the Germans could. Part of it, and again I will say, is that the Kamhuber line and one of the other methods I think involved in it is sort of a box area, and so they can only have one fighter flying in that box area at a time so that two German fighters don't interfere. And it's sort of radar guided from the ground to shoot down aircraft. I just don't think their technology is good enough to do dense enough to shoot down enough aircraft in the time period to stop it. So I don't think they could stop. They can shoot up a bunch. They can make it expensive, and they can also make it the deeper you go, because more and more stuff if you just add more and more, you can do more and more. The deeper you go, the harder it is. But I don't think you can stop the British night bombing. Now, then the question comes is, how effective is the British night bombing? That's another question. In actually stopping necessary war production. I would say, and I very well may be wrong, and often it was done in conjunction, especially once the Americans are in and doing a lot of strategic bombing, in that the Americans would come in during the day, drop their bombs, the British would come in at night looking for the fires to drop their bombs on the same target. That was done at least some of the time. Other time, before the Americans are in, they would try to come in just before dark with a few lead airplanes to drop little bits of fire bombs, just to get enough fires going on, and to mark the targets well enough so that the bombers really using cover of darkness. And the lead aircraft coming in would generally, I think, carry a lighter, physical lighter load of bombs, and trying to go as fast as they can to be harder to intercept and get out of there quicker. And so when the bigger heavies are coming by, because I think, don't quote me on this maybe, but I think they may have used like Mosquitoes and other sort of fast aircraft with light bomb loads to come in and do some of that, just before dusk, and sort of low levels to mark the targets, and then get out of there before getting shot down when the bombers would come in. So the British were doing that. So I don't think you could shut down the British ones. The Americans, so I think the Americans were doing the main damaging to the actual war effort, shutting down the actual, like the Schweinfurt, wherever the Schweinfurt is in here, it's in this sort of area. But ball bearing factories or whatever it is, that they're hitting it hard enough and actually hitting the factory and to the point of it stopping production. Sometimes factories are hit and a day or two later they may be back in production at 30%, 50%, 70% production, and yeah, you know, they're not destroyed, they're just damaged and get back in. That would have been easier to stop had Germany been able to focus more effort on fighter aircraft at home, and definitely had they earlier on got jet airplanes, and they had them. I mean, they had the prototype. It was a decision to delay production. First, they decided not to produce the Heinkel jet aircraft. I think that was a mistake. That would have been earlier. They waited for the Messerschmitt 262, and then even that, because Hitler demanded it be able to be a ground attack aircraft, that delayed it getting into production, trying to figure out how to make that damn thing ground air attack. You know, they did eventually, but ground attack aircraft. Had they got that in earlier in production, because I think getting the Heinkel in would have been good. That would have got them into jet engine production earlier better, and once they improved the jet engine, continued to work on it, get into the later models that the 262 uses and better airframe. So yeah, I think that could have shut down American bombing, especially American bombing, well, even into the Ruhr area. You know, you can still bomb, you know, here where you have good fighter coverage, but even you talk about, yeah, once you get the I know you're saying stuff in chat, and I'll read it in just a second. Even though, you know, they're able to eventually get to places like Berlin, Dresden, Leipzig, deep into Germany with escorts. That's still a long ways with lots of air attacks, and you keep doing that kind of stuff, you're going to run the fighters, even though the fighter can make it there, do a little bit of dogfighting and come back home. But eventually, with enough engagements, you know, as you're going along, more and more engagements, you're going to be taking a lot more losses. And if you really had done a better layered defense, that deep in could have become too damaging. I believe so. Now, again, this is all just my speculation because we don't know. Hello, Guvaz Video Peer New 4. How you doing? They're like a few dozen night bombers total, but then the Germans learned the wrong lessons from it. Military. Okay, maybe I should scroll back up. There's something earlier that Darth is saying. It's check the heavy fighters and attackers. That's how. Fifth factories. That is Sith. Okay, we'll make some more Sith factories. Cancel biplane is totally useless. Okay, well, we'll see about that soon here. But we haven't got better. I want to switch that over to the better stuff. They need more night fighters. Well, sometimes they were very effective. Yeah, but it's a density that they can't. The night fighters need what they did is, the way the Germans did it, I know, is early on particularly. And even later on, the radar on a lot of the German planes, again, I'm not an expert but this is sort of an overview, is the radar is still fairly primitive on the aircraft. So what they have is they have a ground-based radar that's there, and there's an operator who's talking to the one fighter plane that's flying around there, and he sees his friendly fighter plane flying around there, and he directs the fighter plane to where the bomber, and the way the British did it is they did a bomber stream. They didn't fly in formation because at night that would just be disastrous for them. So they would do a stream of bombers coming over. So for multiple hours over a target, there would be more and more bombers, you know, coming and dropping their loads, going home, dropping their loads, going home. So there's this stream of bombers going by. And so there might be, you know, 2 or 3 bombers in the square at the time, and so the ground operator would direct the aircraft as try to give it an altitude. I don't know how good the Germans were at determining altitude at night for without putting a spotlight on it and doing range finding, but try to direct them to direct the fighter that they see, the friendly fighter, to where the target is. Now early on, the Germans their night fighters did not have radar on them, but if they got close enough, they could clearly see the exhaust flames from the engines. And the British did do things, I think they realized it at some point, to try to increase the length of the exhaust manifold to reduce the flames coming out of it. But early on, they would get to where they could see the exhaust. And then some of the models, they had the BF-110s. They put the cannon or machine guns sort of in a rear seat of the aircraft to shoot up above them, so they would fly under the aircraft and be able to see the flames there, and so that they wouldn't run into the aircraft accidentally. So they would fly under the aircraft, know that they're under, and then fire the gun below it and pull away. Later on, as they were getting radar coming in, once you're sort of directed onto the right path, then because your radar is looking forward and it's a cone in front of you, so it's not terribly big cone, but once you're in there, then you would spot it with your radar. Your radar would guide you in more precisely. You would get in close, realize that the distance is getting close, and then maybe again see it using the exhaust manifold, exhaust flames, and come in there and from behind shoot it and pull away. Well, you need time to set this up and pull this in, and so you can only, in a box, however big the box is, you only have one airplane shooting down. Now you can have multiple rows of boxes, and you need boxes this way, so because if they go a little north, a little south, you can use whatever box it is. But you get to the point that you only have so many boxes with only so many aircraft. Now the aircraft, once it shoots up all of its ammo or uses up all of its fuel, whichever comes first, it can land or radio, hey, I'm running low. Okay, so another one takes off, gets up to altitude, and then as the other one lands. So you can swap out aircraft through the night, but you can only have one up per box per time. That's my understanding how the German night fighters worked. And so I could just see that. Getting to Berlin, and Britain only went to Berlin a few times early on, just more to do it than to really do it well. They were mostly bombing in this kind of region, I understand. We're talking like before the Americans show up. I just don't think they're going to be able to shut that down with enough. I don't think it's not can they build enough night fighters. It's just their methods of doing it. Because if you have multiple German airplanes up, the ground controller doesn't know which aircraft is, which friendly aircraft to tell, to your right or to your left. And flames on aircraft, you might, before you get close enough to actually shoot, you might realize it's a friendly aircraft, but you start tracking in on, or your radar, you start tracking in on friendly aircraft. So you have to keep friendly aircraft out of your box. So I see that as a bigger limitation. The number of boxes you can have, which also for every box you got to have the proper radar sets and the guide and all that stuff. So you got to build ground radar, because you need basically one radar per thing, I think. But maybe if there's big enough radar that can cover more than one box, but each operator worries about his own box. It's more than just night fighters. How many you can put up in the air. So I don't really think you can stop the night fighters. You can damage them, and it's worth doing because you make it harder and more expensive for the enemy to do it. But I don't think you can stop it. Day, it's much easier. Much easier. Let's see. You need more night fighters. Yes, greetings. Try how the Germans destroyed their Graf bomber. Okay, yeah. Cool. It goes in there. Yep, lag, I know. Okay, we've taken out this pocket. We have we did talk about reorganization, takes a little while longer to get back. Okay, I personally, because the way the AI believes in taking down these pockets before going after forces over here. Naval rearmament. Okay, good. 21 days. Yeah, might as well do this early on. We'll do this. And here, we can't do that. That's not here. It's not completed. Radar construction speed. Not doing that yet. Industrial research speed. Okay, we got that. That's a pick. Yeah, Opal. An American company, Opal. We talked about earlier. We just put GM there. Production down. Okay, mechanized. We're not doing mechanized anything yet, because we can switch later on if we need to. We are doing truck production, but right now we're a little behind on towed artillery and whatnot. So let's do Rheinmetall. So, what sort of submarine? User submarine, submarine cost down. So let's do that. Okay. Oh, I'll keep it in mind once I get to more. Not in a long time. I've not think I've just sided with the KMT in a Hoi 4 game. I know I have years ago in a Hoi 3 game, but not anything recent. It's really hard. Okay. Game designer, and I want to say this very clearly. A game designer includes a modder, like Uncharted, and like myself, because I have modded for Hoi 4, though everything I think is way out of date for anything modern version of the stuff. So I did make a version of Third Reich events for Hoi 4, but not released. I'm actually currently working again on Hoi 3 Third Reich events. So, like Uncharted, like myself, we're game designers. Now, we're working on a base of somebody else's game. True, very true. Like Hearts of Iron, but we are game designers. That's different than, say, just a modder who adds a few generals or a few flavor, icons or whatever. A game. So you're designing a game. It is really hard to design a good World War II game and have Germany side with China. Now and I've been looking into it and developing some events covering Germany's sort of switch from supporting China to supporting Japan. And there's a lot of lobbying going on by China and Japan for Germany's support. And for a while, Germany is running a two-track system, sending Panzer Is to China while making nice with Japan, and including investing in Manchukuo. They do some industrial investment that really only returns money because the resources really are being scooped up by Japan. But there is a yes, this is is the world ablaze yet? Well, it's ablaze in China. Hello, technologist, how you doing? So some German firms are investing in Manchukuo at sort of this time, 36, 37, 38 is what I'm talking about. Germany is selling aircraft to Manchukuo that is transport aircraft. They're selling bombers down to the Jiangxi clique at about this time. In 36, I believe it is, maybe 37, but 36, 37. So they're selling early model HE-111s to bombers down here. So they're sort of selling aircraft to both sides. So there's a lot going on. But what do you do if you pick if you mod it and set it up, and the old Götterdämmerung DLC for Hoi 3, which was a decent, for its day, a decent DLC, did have an option to side with China over Japan. But realistically, what happens if Germany goes for KMT and goes heavy into KMT even, so that Chiang Kai-shek just loves Germany. The story is before, but definitely after the KMT comes in power, these sort of main armaments, at least as my examining, the main armament seller and advisors, there's a whole huge advisory mission to China, to the KMT, is Germany. Once Japan is lobbied enough, and once Japan goes to war with, after the Marco Polo Bridge incident with China, Germany withdraws, but it's only, I believe, after, and I have to look into it, but it's right around the time, but I believe it's after the Marco Polo incident, does Germany finally withdraw its military mission of like 100 people, 100 military type advisors that withdraw from China. My knowledge, there's only one guy that sort of shows up around and continues to be a German advisor to, and I'm blanking on his name right now, to Chiang Kai-shek. And there's a whole story behind that. It's a very interesting story. And at this time, in 36, 37, and into 38, into 38, Chiang Kai-shek's adopted son is in the German army. He is a NCO. He's in the German army. He speaks German. He gets the there's a starts with a B. I forget how to pronounce it. A really high, sort of like a super qualification mountain warrior badge, not the regular Gebirgsjäger badge, but it's like something Bureauführer or whatever, like a mountain leader type high qualification badge. He earns that, and you don't get that easily. And from everything we're going to gather, he didn't just get it because he was Chiang Kai-shek's adopted son. He goes through the training, and it's sort of the elite mountain training. So he is a highly qualified mountain warrior. Plus, he is trained as a Panzer platoon commander, and a lot of NCOs command the Zug, the platoon of a Panzer group, and he, I think it's Czechoslovakia, but maybe the invasion of Austria, but I think it's Czechoslovakia, not the Sudeten one, but the actual invasion. He commands a Panzer platoon in the invasion. Now, nobody's shooting at anybody really. There are some shots fired, a teeny bit, but it's mostly peaceful invasion. He commands a German tank platoon as part of the invasion. But the few photos that I have of him, like one is in the officer's mess. So he's treated as if, socially, he's treated as if he's another German officer and hangs out with the officer buddies. But he just is an NCO, I forget what his rank was. And so he's both fully trained up as a Panzer commander and as a mountain warrior. Eventually, in 38, he's recalled to China and Chiang Kai-shek. He spends the rest of the war until at least the Japanese are gone, as sort of on Chiang Kai-shek's staff. He's not ever given a field command. I don't think it's lack of trust. I think it's just Chiang Kai-shek needed some good advice, and so he keeps him close, and so he helps run that. So that's sort of what's going on. But I'm pretty sure it's in 38 that he's recalled from Germany and leaves German service and comes. He survives. Eventually evacuates and into Taiwan and around a long time in Taiwan. So that you have that going, and so another little story. So Germany definitely has a realistic track of supporting even more heavily the KMT against Japan. That is realistic. It really is. Is this realistic though? They're not at war yet. Guys, I don't know. Really? They had 6-8 blocks, literally, just 6-8 blocks. It was sort of the Japanese zone. It's really small. They got a few hundred, maybe even a few thousand troops stuck in this 6 or 8 block area, but it's really small. Now this is an international zone. If you put the actual international zone, the French zone, and the British zone and the Japanese zone together, yeah, maybe you could have a little city of Shanghai zone. That seems a little much. That seems just a little much. Yeah, but so how do you do this? Having Germany support China. That part's easy. You a bunch of advisors, send them a bunch of equipment. Historically, so Germany, just finish the historical tale. So Germany fairly quickly, I should say, withdraws its trainers and its support personnel. I do believe there are several more weapons deliveries continue for a little while. I'd have to look into to know for sure. But most of the advisors are gone. I know the story is with the Panzer Ones. They get shipped out. For some reason, I forget why, whether it's just customs import duties or some other reason, they get parked for a while. Like months, like 6 months or something. And when they're finally turned over to the Chinese are like, what's this crap? Well, they're rusted out partially. They haven't been well looked after because they're just, whoever it is that receives them, just gets them and parks them in a field basically. And they're in bad shape. So they actually have to have the engines reworked because a lot of them don't run or whatever, and get them up and going. So they get most of them up and going. And for various reasons, I don't know exactly why, because they pull the machine guns out of them and put different, I think, Soviet model machine guns into them. And that can be part of the reason is that once Germany withdraws the vacuum of support, the Soviets come in and support Chiang Kai-shek. There's lots of fighter pilots, sending some tanks, a bunch of advisors, so the Soviets are supporting. Then once 1940 41 comes around, and what happens? Germany invades the Soviet Union. Basically, that ends effective support by the Soviet Union. They withdraw their people and basically send no more equipment. Then that is when, and they just sort of get the Flying Tigers set up and going when Japan attacks. They're going a little bit before Japan attacks Pearl Harbor, but Chiang Kai-shek changes his focus to get support from the Soviet Union to the United States because they're not going to get any more support. So that's the historical path. There is a good basis for a continued German path. There really is. But how do you mod for that? How do you design for that? What does that look like? Germany is supporting Chiang Kai-shek. Chiang Kai-shek would like to see, in the earlier days, he's rather revolutionary. And the KMT, the KMT starts out with an alliance with the communists under Sun Yat-sen, and it's a sort of fairly leftist alliance. But even once they break and do the massacre of the Reds, and then the Reds do the Long March and all that crap, they're still fairly revolutionary through the 20s. By the 30s, they've come to at least a practical... hello, William L. I'm waiting for somebody to pay me for it. I just don't have enough energy or interest to make Third Reich events for free on Hoi 4. That's straight up. So if I can make it a DLC, if I can sell it, and that takes at least permission from Paradox. And trust me, I've years ago now, I haven't recently, not in the last 2 years, but I've talked to them, through email and whatnot. Third Reich events for Hoi 4. They're very well aware of it. They looked at it and at an early and they knew it was an early preview, and they also had a copy of what I had done for Hoi 3. So they know about Third Reich events. I don't know the current guy who's in charge anymore. I don't know him at all. I knew Podcast. Just through emails and private messages and that kind of thing, both. And whatnot. So I never personally voice chatted with him or something, but I've text chatted with Podcast, the old lead designer for Hoi 4, and very I was in the beta and whatnot. And there was a beta version for some stuff for a while. So they're very well aware of Third Reich events, or they have been. I don't know what the new guy is how aware of he is of it. I probably should re-engage with them. But yeah, it was just like, because it was going to take, I mean, it was a quick and dirty, but this is what it sort of be like. And the answer, quite honestly, I got back was, not yet. And this was, in the first year or so of release of Hoi 4. So maybe I should come back and see if is now the time. I don't know. And we never got into what form it would take. But yeah, I'm just not going to do it. I've followed his Twitter account and I've seen this stuff. I don't remember his name, Harmony, right now to give you the name. I really, and he's not one of the other people that I sort of dealt with, because I'm not getting any details, but I did, private messages over this issue or that issue or whatever, with some of the relevant people. One or two, I think, has moved on to other projects also within Paradox, but I really haven't been. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on with all of that in Hoi 4. I just really sort of been disengaged, quite honestly, and I was shocked that Railroads came in. I'm happily shocked. So it's it's a happy shock. So yeah, I don't know, and it's a lot of work to do a professional level of, and then of course you have to keep it up to date. Third Reich events for all the various versions of Hoi 4. That is it's a lot of work, and I'm just not doing it for free, guys. It's thousands of man hours to do it, really. And so yeah, it isn't something I'm doing for free. I just don't have the interest. I'm doing YouTube and still modding I'm improving the Hoi 3 version, but that's just a little bit of work, not starting all over again. Recoding it all and all that stuff. So again, back to China. Oh, well, so Chiang Kai-shek becomes less radical in trying to get rid of Western influences. He sees the value of Western influences partially in a technical modernization sense for China, but also as a counterbalance to Japan. And so it's less radical. And yeah, I could see Germany realistically getting into bed with each other, but Chiang Kai-shek really is just not going to join a world war on Germany's side. So I don't see it as plausible that if, through versions of the, anti-Comintern pact or whatever, that maybe Chiang is also worried if the Soviets do end up supporting him over the communists, which is interesting. They of course change in 1945 and start supporting the communists over Chiang Kai-shek, but earlier, in 1940, they're supporting 41. Well, yeah, in the late 30s, early 40s, they're supporting Chiang Kai-shek over the communists and not sending any aid to the communists. In fact, sending aid to crush the communists before the Japanese get involved. Well, no, after the Japanese get involved. But yeah, so I could definitely see the idea that Chiang Kai-shek might be in an alliance against the Soviets, but no, I don't really see him as actually declaring war on the Soviets, and definitely not declaring war on Britain, France, or the United States, even if he has no other alliances with them. So you would have a situation where Germany's ally, maybe an ally, but they're not going to go to war with Britain and France. Sort of like Japan doesn't go to war with the Soviet Union during World War II. But might be at war with the Soviets, but I hardly see that. And so then what do you do with Japan? And if Japan can't take down China, and then Japan, like it couldn't, Japan needs resources and decides to take on the Western allies because, hell, France has been conquered, Britain's you know, sort of barely hanging in there. And hey, we think the U.S. Navy, then what can they do to us? You know, kind of BS, and thinks that they're going to grab up all this territory. How do you do that? Does that mean that America is now just in the war with Japan? Alongside Britain, France, and, you know, the exiled Dutch, but not helping the Germans? You know, or what? You know, how do you code for that? Or do you have to code up a fourth faction into the game, in which you have the Japan faction, you have the European German faction? You know, how do you? And it really gets sort of messy. Well, good, William L. No, I have not. I've not even tried Germany in this mod yet. Really, I mean, we're just knocking out Spain right now. So I haven't even tried Germany in this mod yet. I mean, I'm trying Germany now, but so that's sort of the tough situation. And from a player-based situation, even if somehow you get China into the Axis and on Germany's side against Britain and France and America, what is Japan going to be? I can't plausibly see Japan or Britain, France, or America helping Japan fight China. I can't see them joining the Allies. I just can't see that one. And so, kill this pocket before we go after the main target. So yeah, it's really hard to code in to do that. It's a really interesting what if. Well, you know, do we need more? We'll do some convoys. We'll do some convoys. Things out of fuel? Well, they might be. We're relying upon the fuel system of Spain here. Supplies. No, not really out of fuel here, I guess. Just not receiving enough. Well, you'd have to go back and look, William L, at the beginning of this live stream, or when I post the videos, I talk about things, what I would change so far that I've encountered. I don't really think it's helpful that I try to rehash it all right this moment. Sorry. I want to be responsive, I truly do, but they were in there. So let's get this researched here. Then we'll come over, and I'm not disagreeing with your analysis of, I forget who it was, Harmony or somebody who thought I should stop doing the HE51s. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just going to wait, and then when I get the Messerschmitts, then switch over to that. So, a lot of detail stuff. I really like the mod. I mean, I like the mod better than vanilla for sure. I need to look at, let's be a little, okay, well, we're starting to get some more artillery. Let's do some even more artillery. I like artillery. I remember a playthrough of, was it World of Blaze or Total War? I forget, that I didn't have nearly enough artillery. Okay, we need more bauxite. Okay. Bauxite. Well, oh, well, we have more than enough aluminum, so no, I guess we don't need more bauxite. Okay. We got enough aluminum. We don't need more bauxite. And we also maybe have too much iron, so let's see about reducing that. There we go. Maybe another. We have enough steel. Oh, no, oh god, no, I rage quit on Total War. I mean, I had an epic meltdown there. If you want to watch the Total War series and catch the last episode of that. That's been a long time ago now. Maybe it's much better. I don't know. But I rage quit that. I quit Black Ice not over rage quit, but over my last play through Black Ice, and maybe they've corrected the problems that got me to quit. No, I've never had that major of a problem with World Ablaze. Well, I'd have to play the latest version of Black Ice to see Tank X. You very well may be right. I'm not trying to dispute what you're saying at all. More of a use the Hitler Youth symbol for Albert Spear. That's what I gather that's sort of supposed to be. Little iron cross thingy, but otherwise it's the Hitler Youth. Well, beginning of 37. Yeah, let's do that. Got some more civilian factories, we're expanding some of that. Now we're coming back to more military ones. I know we need a lot of military ones, but I want to get more production going of factories. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I did, Arno. Well, Belgian forts were the total war meltdown. It was for the Soviet effects were super heavy right along the border zones here. The bad effects for invading the Soviet Union that I was facing here, had they been out here, I might have fully agreed with them. But it was here that they were with the Black Ice, and that got me to quit there. And it was the Belgian forts that got me down on the total war. Yeah, no, I haven't run into anything like that on this, and this is doing pretty good. Okay, well, let's synthetic refinery. So 60 coal. Okay, well. Yeah, let's see. Once we get that done, let's stop one. Do that after those are done.
Auf geht's!
A bit more floating power. Oh, you got that done. Yeah, Portuguese volunteers. Okay, well. Okay, that's going to die pretty soon. Let's come over here. Okay, they're trying to pinch this off. Let's come to here. See if we can attack here. Push down here a bit. I don't know if we can cut this off. Hello, Starstreak, how you doing? Well, the war in Spain continues. That's for sure. Okay, we're in 37, so now let's reevaluate the dates for some of these. I think, are we already doing? Yes, we're already doing that. I don't know if we should wait for, I'm guessing there is a national focus. Let's look here. Okay, yeah, so these seem to be mostly fairly later. Creation of the panzer troop. Okay, so we actually have to research some of the. Okay, so yeah, we need to push down the tree here a bit. So let's get that Panzer 3A. Uh-huh. Okay, we're not going to push yet into those. We'll get a little closer to the date. Let's... Yeah. Okay. That. 39, 37, yeah, okay, let's get this started. Efficiency growth. As you can tell, I'm definitely an infrastructure kind of guy here. So we'll do that. Okay, well again, if you guys are new here, either on Twitch or YouTube, please follow or subscribe on the channel. Love to see you around more often. I will be continuing this playthrough, I think, next Saturday. I want to get more into it. I know it's going slow for everyone, but I do want to take a look at it. So please stay around. Of course, hitting the like button is appreciated. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, comments, tips, talking to those later on, please post them below. Corrections. Love hearing from you. See you next time for even more Hearts of Iron.